Hey everyone, welcome back to Robb's Car World News, sometimes a little satire, and always some great car finds. What I thought I'd do today is take you through a company called BYD. Build Your Dreams. It's a Chinese manufacturer, car manufacturer that builds now exclusively electric vehicles. And it was part of a lot of controversy that happened during the election cycles when we're talking about people bringing in some low priced electric vehicles. And it's in the news cycles recently as well because of conversations about tariffs and such. So during the presidential election period, President Trump at the time had stated that there will be a bloodbath in the auto industry if we allow Chinese electric vehicles to be sold in the United States without high taxes. And then he went on to say at other meetings that they were going to have to pay 100% or even a 200% tariff on these cars. So it made it sound like there were a lot of electric vehicles or vehicles coming in from China to North America. But I just wanted to summarize that right now there are only three Chinese built cars sold in the United States. Just three. And the first one is the Volvo XC30. It's an electric vehicle, has a price tag between $37,000 and $47,000. It gets up to a 275-mile range on a single charge. It's owned by China's Geely Motors, and Geely Motors owns Polestar, which is the Volvo, extreme brand that's also exclusive electric vehicles. But Polestar's volumes are very low, so even though they come here in North America, I won't even talk about them at this time. They own Smart Car, they own Lotus, they own the London taxi cab business. They have 17% of Aston Martin and 8% of the Volvo AB Group, which also builds the Volvo trucks. So the Polestar, again, comes in and built in China as well, but the volumes are very low. But the Volvo XC30 is a very successful car coming out of the box, and it's priced fairly well for a high-end premium type car. The second electric vehicle or vehicle that comes in from China, this is not an electric vehicle, but the Buick Envision. This car is an SUV. It's an internal combustion engine. As I said, it's got a price tag of $37,000 to $50,000. Now, Buick has been involved in the Chinese manufacturing of cars there for some time. Since 2016, this Buick Vision has been built in China and imported here exclusively to North America. But GM has had a joint venture with Chinese SAIC Motors since going back since 1997, and they are very successful. Buick has a very stellar brand there in China. It's considered, Buick was there when Chinese car buyers came out in droves back in the 90s, and they were there to really provide a high-end American type feel, and people really fell in love with the Buick brand. It's like here in the United States in the 60s and 70s, people had aspirations to drive in a Cadillac. Well, in China, people had the aspirations of owning a Buick because it was their fathers and moms' cars. And you got to remember that the car industry in China really was created most recently in the terms of how long the car market has been here in North America. So the Buick is being built in China and imported here, but the volumes aren't that big. The Lincoln Nautilus is an interesting one. That's an SUV. It's an internal combustion engine. It's get $50,000 to $75,000 pricing. It's now solely produced by China's Chang'an Motors, while Ford retools their assembly plant in Canada to produce 100% electric vehicles. Now, that's a lot going on, right? So Lincoln was building this car here in North America and up in Canada. They shifted the production for this model year to China, and only because they're turning their Canadian plant to electric vehicles. Now, when you talk about stepping on broken glass from a financial position, there's a lot going on right now in the industry and in politics that might cost Ford a lot of money on these type of moves, which makes it very difficult for car companies in particular to plan out 10 years. Car companies like stability, and there's not a lot of stability right now, and hopefully that will change over the next 4 to 8 years. So what the car company they've been talking about is BYD. BYD The Chinese car company. It's during the election. It's Build Your Dreams. They started out in 2003, and their sales in 2023 is over 3 million. So who is BYD? Well, they started out as a low-cost manufacturer for batteries for cell phones. You know, the flip phones that you had, and you know, the iPhones when they first came out, they were built in China, of course. Well, BYD was actually manufacturing low-cost batteries, high-quality low-cost batteries. And now, today, the company produces electric vehicles. They produce hybrids. They produce trucks and buses. And they have a bus assembly plant in California, in the United States. And it's interesting to note that when they started up, Warren Buffett was one of their major investors in the brand. And since then, he sold out his shares because, you know, he's in the profit game. And he's also sensing the competitiveness nature of the electric vehicles, especially in China. But BYD appears to be the muscle when it comes to electric vehicles in China. So since 2022, BYD is focused 100% now on electric vehicles. And what they did was they created an entry-level platform most recently called the Ocean Series. And there's two car lines there. It's the Seal and the Seagull. Ocean Series makes sense, right? But the Seagull is the car that we're going to really focus on. That's the one to watch. That car has a starting price of $11,500 in US dollars. And their new entry EV, this new car, which is about the size, smaller than a Honda Fit, the size of a Fiat 500. You know, it's in that compact, subcompact category. But right now it's being sold in Europe and Southeast Asia, in Australia, in Brazil, and South Africa. And it's targeted to younger audiences seeking high quality, connectivity, and affordability. And they also have some fairly decent crash tests as well. So consider this as you would the 1950s when Volkswagen was coming to North America. It's the people's car. You know, so if that sounds familiar, it's not by mistake. This is the car that's been the subject of conversation. It's the Seagull. It's 2024 model year, $11,500 MSRP in China. It's got 190 to 250 mile range, and that's a lot because the BYD builds their own batteries. And they have this new lithium battery that they're just producing, and that's really becoming successful. And they're selling these batteries as too, and they really don't rely. BYD really has total vertical integration of how they manufacture cars, almost like Ford back in the 1930s when they had the Rouge assembly plant, where they went from iron ore to a delivered product. BYD is also functioning that same way. They're relying less and less on suppliers and becoming more and more independent in how they build their cars. And that's why they have a leg up right now. How long that will last, we'll see. There's a lot of competition in China, right? This is the interior of the car. The interior of the car looks like a Toyota Prius, like, you know, it's got the flat screen. That screen actually goes from a portrait to a landscape mode. You can move it around. It's got all the software and connectivity that you would expect, that you would find on a $75,000 Mercedes-Benz. And the younger folks right now really love it because it's priced at $11,500. So these are the cars that are going into Europe right now. And also their Seal model, which is a mid-sized car, which competes with the Tesla and such. But these are the cars that Europeans are now talking about, and what President Trump had noted as a future problem here for North America, and rightly so. But a problem can also become an opportunity, and even with a tariff, 200% tariff on this car, it might still be a bargain compared to the USA average price of a car exceeding $49,000. So that's the summary of BYD, who they are. You know, it's basically a car company that's making their, you know, break here in North America, maybe soon. They're thinking about building a plant in Mexico, but again, you know, is Mexico the place to have an assembly plant? I think they're on their way. I think they're building something there already. So it's going to be interesting what happens over the next 4 to 8 years. Hopefully we'll see more stability and see more opportunities for companies like BYD to actually come here to North America and bring affordability back to the car shopper. because I think coming out of COVID, one of the things that we need to see, and we need to see it very soon, is affordability, because people right now are, $10,000, $20,000 under equity on the car that they're driving, meaning they can't get out of their car. The car's value in the marketplace is underwater compared to what people owe. And if that continues, you'll see more and more people default on their loans, and that can cause, more of a recession period. So we can't continue on with this feeling of just keeping to spend money on and nobody talking about affordability. And maybe BYD is setting this new trend for affordability, for mobility, for younger folks in particular that really would like to buy a car but can't afford one. Anyway, this is Robb LoForese. Thanks for joining us here on Robb's Car World. If you like the video, please subscribe. If you have friends that like cars, please pass it along as well. We'll see you here. Thank you.